Welcome to the Delvin Cox Experience, the podcast which each week I am on a one-man mission to unite our culture through diversity. I'm your host, Delvin Cox, and this week on the podcast, I have a special guest. Let them know who you are, brother.
Hey, what's up? It's Timm Hines over here from New York. On Twitter, DJ Timm Hines, and been in the podcast and scene for a little bit and listening to Delvin and all he does with everybody. And, we kind of hooked up, and now we get to do this together. So I'm pretty excited to be on.
Definitely. Awesome to have you on, brother. Awesome to have you on.
Thank you.
And as always, we like to start the podcast off with the 5 for 5. 5 questions, 5 answers to get the ball rolling. Tim, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Question number 1. What is the best album you listened to in the past year? It doesn't have to be new, by the way.
It's a tough one, but I listen to a lot of different music. I listen to house music, hip hop, pop, top 40, all different genres besides country. That's not my thing. But as much as I love music, I still can't get past Royce the 5'9's Book of Ryan. I mean, that's like my favorite album still, even though it's a year and change old, but I'm still rocking that.
Great album.
Yep.
So great. I didn't listen to the next one yet.
I haven't either. And that's what's crazy. I was hyped about it, and I'm just like, I don't know how he's going to beat Book of Ryan, because it's such a good storytelling album, and it's good from front to end, even with the skits. And the skits add more impact to the songs than a lot of other skits in other albums. Is kind of goofy and stuff like that.
I can literally do a whole Royce the 5'9 podcast episode. I definitely can. That's how much I like the Royce the 5'9. He's one of my favorite rappers. I've been listening to him since Bad Meets Evil, stuff like that. Until Book of Ryan, I think Death of Certain was my favorite Royce the 5'9 album.
Yeah, he's got the skills, and then just the storytelling ability is phenomenal. And then with this one, it just brought it to like that maturity level where I think that people, who grew up in, say, with 90s hip hop and the evolution, through the new stuff, that was so refreshing to get back when it was right in the dead smack of the mumble era. And, that came out, and it appealed to, I want to say a little bit older folks, but it definitely did. And it kept a lot of heads back interested with, the genre, because a lot of people were losing, interest. And you hear a lot of people, I only listen to the old stuff, something like that comes out. Now you listen to the new stuff again. So, that being said, I did a solo podcast about maybe 2 years ago, and it wound up being 3.5 hours long because I did my top 10 favorite albums of all time. And I had a lot of criteria to meet. It had to be listenable from song 1 to the end, had to be, a complete album. Hopefully it told a story. So I really made it hard on myself. And now after I've done that, Book of Ryan most likely will have to be revisited and bump something out. So, but that, I still listen to that.
That's a really good idea for a podcast episode. I might have to do that.
It was fun. It was fun, and it was hard work because I said, I was being hard on myself, and then I wound up doing a top 5 soundtracks with it that before that, of original soundtracks, from original music from the movie. Then I did a top 5 compilations, because there's so many good compilation albums that I can't give a top album to, because the compilation of their greatest hits, a greatest hits album. So, but I still gave them honorable mentions, and that was a fun pod. But it was cool. And then being a DJ, I did a little quick mix of the top songs from each of the albums. So at the end, there was a little set of, so you could hear a taste if you didn't know it. Yeah, so that was fun.
All right. Question number 2. If you can visit any fictional place, whether it's in books, movies, wherever you want to call it, where would you visit?
It's tough. See, my first thought is I want to go to somewhere in Star Wars, but most of them places in Star Wars are tough to go to, and none of them are real fun. So
Yeah.
I was thinking probably I want to go to Westeros or Westworld. It's one of the other two because I love both shows, and I feel like I could navigate myself in either one of those.
I have to call you on this. You said the world of Star Wars are rough, but you want to go to Westeros.
Yeah, because I know how to navigate through there. Like I would be like low key, like just moving like Arya.
That's your only option.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
survive.
Like I was in Star Wars. I could say like put me in Star Wars, and now I'm on Tatooine. I'm like, damn, this shit's like the desert, and they're gonna find me out, no problem. I don't got no Jedi powers.
I guess that's a good point. You don't have no Jedi powers, but everybody gets murdered in Game of Thrones.
I'm saying that's why I know how to maneuver. If I didn't know how to maneuver in there, if it was season 1, maybe not. But now that I know what I know.
Okay, I got you. All right, question number 3. This is everybody's favorite question. What is the dumbest thing you've ever done as a kid?
Well, I'm gonna go back. I hear a lot of good teenage stories, and I'm gonna go back to like maybe like 11, 10, 11, maybe 11, 12, and me and my buddies went to the parking lot of this real estate agency, and they had just paved it. So we got our little skateboards out and we're riding around a fresh paved parking lot. And for some reason, I see they have the slotted stockade fence, but it was like up a little bit higher, maybe like 2 feet off the ground on concrete. So it was like perfect kicking level. So I just started kicking it. And I'm like, wow, look how easy these things are to crack in half. And I'm on like my 7th one. And then all of a sudden, the owner comes into the parking lot flying in and goes, what the hell are you kids doing? Because he didn't want to skateboard. And that's what he saw at first. And then he sees my dumb ass kicking the fence. And I'll never forget it. As I'm running, I grab my board and I'm running out of the parking lot. And he gives me a swift kick in the ass. And I definitely deserve that one. So yeah. I felt like I needed to bring that one out because that was pretty dumb.
Yeah, I get that. That was pretty silly.
Looking back now, especially, like I'd be like, oh my God, if somebody did that to me, I'd definitely kick them in the ass.
All right. Question number 4. Give me your top 5 favorite DJs.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, we get into it.
All right. So I'm a house music head. So right off the bat, I'm going to go Danny Tenaglia.
Okay.
Fatboy Slim.
Okay.
And Eric Merlo.
Okay.
All right. But then I got to go with DJ Premier.
Okay. There you go. Now you're getting Primo.
Yeah. Like he, on top of his, production skills, he's a sick DJ. And I got to go Red Alert. He's been my favorite DJ since I've been a little kid. And I listened to him out here in New York when he was on stations that don't even exist anymore. So like he's been moving around and he's been a staple. He's the one that like really taught me about blending. Other DJs cut and scratch. He was sick with the blending, and I loved my like reggae and the Latin house and that early 90s stuff that coincided with the hip hop at the time. But it was like whenever that was the dance sets, it was those, the dance hall. So, and he was just so good at blending, and it kind of inspired me a lot. And it really enhanced my DJ like game. And when I moved over to house, it made it a lot easier because the house is a lot of blending instead of cutting and scratching and dropping and stuff like that. So there you go. Those are my top 5. Red Alert, serious business.
I like those a lot. All right. Question number 5. Zombie apocalypse happened, Walking Dead style. You gotta take 5 things for you to survive in this world. Family and pets don't count, so they automatically come with you. What are the 5 things you're taking with you to survive?
All right. I'm trying to go infiltrate the government and find one of those rail guns.
Okay, a rail gun. I'll allow it.
Don't need no bullets. I got, the limited energy in there. Then I was going to take Purell and toilet paper because apparently that's important right now, but I don't think it's going to help me in that. So I'm going to probably take my machete. I'm going to take a personal water purification device because, you don't know how good the water is going to get out there. That's 3. I've been really tossing it around with some kind of music, but like I feel like just batteries ain't gonna last. It's gonna be tough to get music, so I might have to. I'm gonna go with, you know what, one of those hand crank radios,
Okay.
just in case there's stations out there that are broadcasting for help or places to go. And I want to take maybe I'm gonna probably take a crossbow, because I feel like, I could always like fabricate some arrows or go collect my arrows and stuff like that. But that's a handy weapon when the railgun fails.
Okay. I like that. I like that. So let the audience know a little bit about yourself, Tim, for those who don't know.
All right, so like I kind of mentioned before, I DJ. I've been doing that since about 94, and then 96, 97, I started getting into clubs and doing the club scene and promoting and DJing and all that. But at the same time, I got a job at the local government, so I always, had two gigs going. And when Lost came out, I started listening to these new things on iTunes called podcasts. And I'm like, oh shit, these are cool. And the guys I got down with that I started listening to first were on this network called TalkShoe. And it used to allow you to bring in callers like a radio show, and it had a big chat on the side. So, for a few months I'm chatting on the side, and then I got the balls to call up and give my input. And I felt like I was calling a radio show, and I got really into it and excited. So I've been hanging around with these guys since like '08, and eventually they got, Lost ended, and I started getting into Fringe, listening to podcasts. And then I started getting invited in on podcasts as guests, and it was a lot of fun. And from that, my one buddy opened up the DVR podcasting network. I started getting some shows as co-hosting. Then I started doing a couple of shows on my own. Like I said, the one where I did the my top 10 favorite albums. That one was called Inside DJ's DVR. And I was doing that for a while. And then Game of Thrones went heavy, and we really hit Game of Thrones hard. Like I started with one crew, and I would say around season 4 or 5, he didn't want to do it anymore. So he passed the torch, and we kept it going, and it has a huge following. That was called Podcast Winterfell. And by the end of the show, the 8th season, we used different formats because TalkShoe was kind of low quality sounding. So we were going to Google Hangouts or Skype and things like that, where we could bring more people in. And the call-in show got tossed my way because we were doing 3 shows a week. So I started handling the call-in, and that was a lot of fun. And a lot of people like were on board and really liked I got a lot of compliments for hosting and including, just letting everybody feel included. Because every week people were writing, I want to be on. Boom, no problem, let you on. I mean, we were doing shows that went 2.5 hours sometimes. So yeah, it was fun. And now I'm still rolling with it. I just finished Curb Your Podcast that I got to. Someone dropped out as a co-host because of work issues, so I got invited to do that for the last couple of seasons. And this season, all 3 seasons, I've been covering Westworld so far. So right now, at this current moment, we're in the middle of covering Westworld on Westworld Theorycast.
Okay. I like that. Now let's start. Let's take it back. So let's start at the beginning. You grew up in New York, correct?
Yes, that's it.
So what is that like growing up in New York? And I want to get into your age, but being a DJ, New York is known as the epicenter of hip hop.
Yeah, and it big for house music, big for a lot of the music. Even like back in the day, rock music, like that was a lot of it came out of New York. So it's just a big music epicenter. So when I started we were 14. Now, I'm 41 now, so we go a ways back. But I was 14. Me and my boy had just met. We merged our junior highs merged, and into elementary schools merged into the same junior high, and maybe I was like 13 or so, and we're sitting there talking about I love music. Oh, you like music? You like hip hop? I like this, and from an early age, I was collecting music. Like my first tape that I ever bought was Run DMC Raising Hell. I was 5 years old. My dad's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "That one." And I remember, and like, just I always had music. I was always making mixes off of cassettes, off the radio, pausing it right at the right spot, getting down. So in junior high, me and my friend met, and we both went out and bought sets. And I remember his mom driving us into, we live right outside Manhattan. So like she would drive us to Manhattan, go into the little record shops and just started collecting music. And just fell in love because like we have, like I said, Red Alert, we have Funk Flex. Now most people know Flex because he's so syndicated on everything. But back then it was like, then that was our guy, New York. And you just have all these big heads. You have Stretch Armstrong and Bobito on the like basically pirate radio, college radio, dropping all these like insane breaking artists and stuff like that. So like just being around it, like you felt like, even living right outside the city, you just knew people who knew people like, oh yeah, I just went to this show, I just saw this. And it was like, you felt a real tight part of it. Even if were just a listener, you just being around in New York, knowing that most of these cats are from around your way, that's like, you just felt a very close bond to the music. So like hip hop was always a big deal out in New York, especially for me growing up. That was a lot of lessons, like learning, different, you could tell the borough styles, and it's all within a 20, 30 mile radius, but you could just tell all these different styles. So that was, it was fun growing up with hip hop in New York.
Yeah, it had to be fun because I remember I grew up in Miami, and I specifically remember like when being in high school, we're close to the same age, so it's probably different experiences probably a similar experiences from different places. I remember having to go to the flea market to get mixtapes, like from DJ Clue, Funkmaster Flex, Kid Capri, and then going in and also buying like the purple tape, the Ghostface purple tape and stuff like that. I remember having that experience, and I remember like buying these mixtapes and hearing Funk Flex, like Hot 97. That was a thing. It was such a big thing at that time. You were hearing these things in Miami. And yeah, this was kind of like a local radio station for New Yorkers and stuff like that. But its impact was felt here. Like, the whole thing, the whole East Coast, West Coast thing, we felt that down here in Miami. People was kind of choosing their sides, like Biggie and Tupac and stuff. I remember all this stuff so like it was yesterday because that part of hip-hop was just part of our culture, just listening to that music and stuff. But it had to be cool for you living it because you were there in New York where all this stuff was going on. Even like, from the Biggie Revolution to the whole Nas, the Mobb Deep, to like the 50 Cent era. You were there for all of that.
Yeah, and what was wild is, unfortunately, it's kind of weird having to say unfortunately about living here, is that we put our East Coast, hands up, like fuck the West Coast, F the West Coast, like it. And I kind of shunned the West Coast, and just like I would say 75% of the whole area did, just because now we had to rep the East Coast. But we missed out like on appreciating that music until later on, because now you listen to it, you realize how much good stuff at that time was coming out of the West Coast. But because we're over here, they weren't playing that on the radio. They weren't playing anything like that. Like I remember maybe like, early Tupac was big just because it was Tupac, and you had MTV now. So MTV playing those, Yo MTV Raps, they didn't really go any kind of like, they didn't choose sides. They just played everything, So that's the only place I really got my West Coast stuff from, because they weren't playing on any station out here. Like you wouldn't hear none of that. Maybe you would hear like I Get Around when it first dropped. You might have heard like, it wasn't, I want to say it wasn't until like maybe California Love and like Bone Thugs that you'd finally start hearing some of that sound. And then like Regulators, like around that time, they started playing some of those jams on the radio. And I don't know if it was corporate pressure because of the stations got bigger at the time, but yeah, it was tough, to get into the West Coast revolution. But that, going back now, this stuff still stands up, just like, you know, the New York stuff stands up. And I think, you know, after the whole battle and beef and seeing two of the greatest artists get shot within a year kind of made everybody chill out and appreciate the music more.
Yeah, because I remember, like, living in Miami, we were more West Coast centric because around that time, people were kind of clowning the South. But they thought, like, oh, those guys like Uncle Luke, booty shaking music and stuff like that. That was the kind of thing. But a lot of cats from the West Coast were coming down here saying, like, nah, these guys are real street dudes. They just like women. So, you know, it was kind of weird. Like, we would always get that love from the West Coast artists and stuff like that. Even like the Bay Area artists. And we didn't really get that love from New York till a lot later. Like, I want to say around the time when Memphis Bleak was doing Round Here with Trick Daddy and stuff like that. Like, around that time, we started getting love. And, you know, artists like Outkast and Goody Mob were starting to get love and stuff. Then, you know, even today, like, you got Rick Ross who gets love down there. But it had to be such a cool thing for you living through all those eras and stuff. And the time, because, like I said, me and you are close to the same age. So it had to be cool just being in that epicenter. And it kind of had to even be inspiring, for that matter, to make you want to DJ and just learn all that music. Because there's so much music in New York in terms of, like you were saying, house music, hip-hop, rock. It had to be really cool to have all those legendary DJs in one spot, and it also inspire you to become a DJ.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, you could go to the Tunnel, which was a legendary club in New York, and on Saturday night you had just crazy house music, sometimes all different DJs. Then it would go until, you know, after hours till noon. But then Sunday night was Flex's night, and you had, I mean, from like, I want to say like 98 to 2000, maybe 97 to 2000, he did every Sunday night. And that, if you were an artist, like, it was hard to get in sometimes, but everybody was in there. I mean, there's even, Flex dropped a couple Tunnel albums like that went, you know, mainstream albums instead of mixtapes. And you know, he used to break artists just like Flex, Stretch and Bobbito would do for the underground. He would break them. Here's the newest jam from, say, Jay-Z. Here's the new, you know, and they would come and perform before they did anywhere else. So, like, once they were established, they were at the Tunnel. If you aren't established yet, you were underground, you were going to Stretch and Bobbito show. So it was like you had all this inspiration. And then, you know, then you'd be going to the record store, like, looking for them. Did they drop? Did they just drop? Did this drop? You know, like, instead of waiting for the full CD, you know, you needed that vinyl. So it was definitely fun.
Okay, cool. Now, before we get into your DJ career, I got a question to ask you.
All right.
This is going to be an interesting question. Do you ever have problems grooming yourself in that special area? You don't have to answer that.
No.
This podcast is sponsored by Manscaped. Tim, have you ever heard of Manscaped?
Of course. Every time I listen to the Delvin Cox Experience.
There you go. You are on the ball then, because Manscaped is a redesigned electric trimmer. Now, it's basically designed. This is the cool thing. I sound weird saying it. It's a trimmer for your balls.
Yeah, you need it.
Yeah.
You know, because if you try to use a regular trimmer, you get a little nick. That shit's not good.
And I'm going to ask you again, Tim, since you're on the podcast. Have you ever tried to cut near your balls with a trimmer or a razor?
I caught a nick once last time I tried to do that.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling. You know, I'm going to tell a little funny story. When I was in college, used to watch a lot of porn. A lot of the porn stars back in the day were well groomed. So I thought, you know, maybe I should groom myself up. Maybe that's the thing the ladies like, you know. Got me a razor. It did not end well for me. It looked like a crime scene.
Yeah, or it looks like you don't go close enough. You look like a freak that went to the barbershop and left without giving a tip.
And that's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineer team spent 18 months perfecting the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created. and just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. Now, if something's called the Lawnmower, it better damn work. Their third generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to prevent manscaping accidents, which we just talked about. Millions of balls, I count, millions of balls will be nick-free thanks to Manscaped's advanced skin-safe technology.
That's right, one pair at a time.
Manscaping accidents are finally a thing of the past. When I tell you this premium, I mean it's premium. The battery will last 90 minutes. Who is shaving their balls for 90 minutes? What is going on in your life where you have to shave your ball for 90 minutes?
I mean, maybe if you go on a long trip without the charger, you're good.
There you go. And one of the coolest features is the LED light, which illuminates the grooming areas for a closer, much precise trimming. Now, if you shave it in the dark, you got the LED light to guide your way. So you're good.
They thought of everything over here on 3.0.
Definitely. They've also upgraded to a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology. I also have quiet stroke technology.
Oh. So you still watching that porn?
And let's not forget the charging stand. Show off your motor loud and proud because this intellectually designed stand is a convenient charging dock for your powered USB. Now, see? Now, this is cool. You can put your Manscaped in the living room on this charging dock so everybody can see loud and proud that you shave your balls.
Oh, wow. I mean, you know what? If I was doing a podcast and they're my sponsor, that's going in my living room because not only are my podcast homies going to know about it, but people coming to visit going to get the tutorial.
There you go. Then you got the little lady for it coming over.
Exactly.
Hey,
Check this out.
Check this out.
I'll let you try it.
There you go. That hits it right there. If you listen to me speak right now and you want this experience firsthand for yourself, trim that junk of yours, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code DCXP at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you for it. I repeat, get 20% off and free shipping with the code DCXP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off free shipping at manscaped.com. And please use that code DCXP.
Yeah, you need that 20%.
There we go. Now let's get back into the business, man. DJing. What got you into it? What was the first club you DJ'd, and what was it like?
Well, I think the first club I ever did was a tea night, and because I was still a little young, but that was fun. And I remember, I was promoting it as well. So I got to see most of the people that were coming beforehand, handing out flyers at different spots. And it was cool just to see a crowd react. And after that, then, me and my homie, who's a very good DJ, the one I was talking about beforehand, who when we first linked up, he just took his hip hop game to the next level, where I kind of veered off into the dance hall, reggae, into dance music scene. He went hard hip hop scene. And we threw a party when we were seniors in high school, and we put our money together and we rented out a hall, and we threw this jam that to this day, both of us have done all different events, and we still love that event because it was like our shit and we were kids. And I remember afterwards we all went out, a few of the people who put it together went out to the diner, split up our envelopes, and that was a cool feeling. But to DJ for people and see them get excited when you drop certain songs, or getting excited because you're building up that moment to drop the jam at the time, and then they be it house or hip hop or whatever, people get excited when you drop that crazy beat. Like I just like that comes to mind thinking about people going crazy is those first few beats to DMX Party Up in Here. Bam, 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 bam. Like you needed that, and the club would go bonkers. So like things like those kinds of songs, those anthems, you hear those you know, dun, 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 you know that, you know, Jigga, everybody goes crazy. So those feelings really like make you want to keep doing it. And when I got into house, it was the same thing. And, you know, the people just like, you know, the dance jams, you know, the ill jams, and that makes you come back. And then aside from the clubs, I got into the private party scene, doing weddings, bar mitzvahs, sweet 16s, whatever, you know, any kind of corporate event. And those are like the party standard, like parties. So like you'll play whatever's current, but it doesn't matter. To this day, you drop cha-cha slide, the electric slide, you know, so some of those group dances, even though as corny as they are, you wouldn't want to listen to them when you're driving. But at a party, you got the right party, the right people, it works. Could be a 70th birthday party, could be a communion. For some reason, everyone knows the group stuff. And even now with YouTube, like over the last decade, maybe, yeah, around that, I'm DJing little kids parties. They know the Cotton Eye Joe, which came out when we were teenagers. You know, they know the Macarena because they watch all these group dances. And then a lot of the times there's these new group dances that like came out 3 days ago. And I'm DJing a party. They'd be like, yo, you got this? And I'm like, what do you mean? What's the Delvin Cox slide? I don't got that. So now I'm going to look it up because I got to play at the next party. I got to have this song. So like they'll educate me sometimes. So it's just, that's the fun part is just sharing the music and watching people smile. That's the best part of DJing.
The Delvin Cox slide needs to become a thing. I don't know who's going to come up with it, but somebody needs to come up with a Delvin Cox slide ASAP.
It's got to have like a little ball trim moving it.
Yes.
The ball trim. The ball trim.
All right. I got to ask you a funny question. Besides the Manscaped stuff. Give me a funny DJing story. Something crazy, wild that happened while you were DJing at a club or a party.
I got a few, but one of my favorites, because I still have the napkin, I was DJing this party, and it was a house party, you know, and not at a house. It was in a club. We were playing house music, and there was this group of 3 girls that just kept coming up to the booth, play hip hop, and we're like, this is not the party we're playing. You know, strictly says the house, you know, house music. You play hip hop, and I still have it written on a napkin in one of my record sleeves. It says, "This sucks. Play hip hop." And I put it. I still have it. I carried it with me for a long time. That was a good story. I like that one. Like, and that was during like the young days. So, like, you know, every once in a while, I'll see those people even when I'm out hanging out who just want that music switched, no matter what it is. You could be in a hip hop club and there's someone's like, play Latin, play bachata, play whatever. And it's like, you know, you got to realize where you're at sometimes. But when, you know, if you're at a private party, you know, obviously you're switching things up for the guests, you know, they're paying you. So, but that, you know, that's one of my funny stories I like to share. There's been others, you know, girls coming up offering, not me, but I remember my buddy, one girl came up, she's like, and we had an up high booth and there was a big wall around it, and she's like trying to convince my buddy to let her get down underneath the equipment to give him fellatio, and he's like, no, get out of here, no. And I just remember breaking his balls for like ever about that, because I'm like, yo, how do you say no to that? And meanwhile, I'm like, I wouldn't do that shit because I'm trying to DJ, but I just broke his balls because it was easier.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do. But yeah, there's been a lot of fun times up in the booth and just being in the club scene altogether. You see a lot of drunk people towards the end of the night doing some wacky shit or falling on their face, or, you know, can't dance well afterwards. You know, after a night of drinking, they start losing their rhythm. You know, so there's a lot of funny stuff that happens, but it's this, you know, just being in the scene. I like being out. Doesn't necessarily have to be DJing. I just always like going out. And, you know, the 305 is one of my favorite places to party because there's just so many clubs down there. And it's actually, as much as I love New York, I love Miami. So like, I know that you know, you have a lot of great places you could go to. I mean, not now during the COVID lockdown, but
yeah, I'm not going nowhere now. But
no.
Yeah, Miami's one of those interesting places. because it's not as congested as other places, it's always something to do. Not even if you want to go to a club. Just in general, it's always something to do down here. Well, not now at least, but usually it's always something to do down here, whether it's go to the beach or go to a nightclub or go to a bar or something like that. It's always some type of place, whether it's a Spanish club, a house club, hip-hop club.
Strip club.
Strip club. Miami's so diverse in that way.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts about it. Like, and the city of Miami recognizes that, and they do a lot of things for the community, like at the convention centers. Like, I remember being down there one time, down by Lincoln Road, by the convention center that's over there,
Yes.
and it was like one night it was like a Philharmonic orchestra playing outside, and it was like crazy. Like, they had all these wild lights. The next night it was a Latin themed thing, like, but it was sponsored by the city of Miami, so. You know, you feel like they invite you to enjoy the music and the scene, which is cool.
I agree. That's exactly what it is. They kind of open their doors up to a lot of culture, a lot of cool stuff that people enjoy. So, let me know a little bit about this DVR network.
Well, that's a really great passion project started by my buddy Axel. Now he called me. He's like, we got to do something where we could bring all the podcasters in, like, our crew together, because there was, like, you know, people covering all different shows. My one buddy was doing, like, he had this thing called the film list, and he just would do, you know, all different people would send him top 10 this, top 10 that, and he had master list of his favorite films. He was a film guy, and then we were covering Game of Thrones and all different shows. So my buddy Axel called me up. He's like, should we make a network? I said, yeah, put it together. So he actually got the ball rolling, and you know, I helped him out as much as I could, and he always tries to tell me, yo, you're a co-founder, but it was really his baby. But it gave us a place to put all the TV and film-related podcasts in one spot. So, I mean, we've covered, not me personally, it just like with everybody, we've covered everything from Veronica Mars to Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, just any major TV show. Or we'll talk about, sometimes it'll be like a news type of show. He was doing one called Daily DVR, where he was giving the news for a while. He actually slowed that one down because we got so heavy into individual shows. But what we like about doing it is that everybody who participates isn't trying to make a buck, like, about having to work at it. Like, you know, we got some sponsors and stuff, and things are cool going that way, but it's more passion filled than, say, a lot of other podcast networks that are out there that I know. Like, I hear these, you know, some of the people that do them, they say, oh, we quit our jobs and we're doing this full time, but they start covering stuff, TV shows that they don't even really like, but just because the ads demand that they put more content. So when I hear that, it kind of starts sounding boring because they don't have the passion for it. So anybody who's covering stuff on the network is usually passionate about the show. You know, like Better Call Saul is one of the greatest shows. My buddy Axel, he got together with another Game of Thrones podcaster from a whole different crew, and now they're doing that. And he's very welcoming. We've had the guys from What Up Doe? Michael, actually, not Otis hasn't come on yet, but Michael's come on a bunch of different shows from What Up Doe, and just different voices, and it's very welcoming. There's no, like, you know, this is our thing. If someone writes in and says we want to be on, or they write in these awesome feedbacks, some of the feedbacks we get are more intelligent than the things we talked about on the show. So it's great. Like, I've said numerous times, like, reading some of these feedbacks, I'm like, hey, if you want to take over for me, come just give me a call, because, you know, some of these people bring great thoughts and theories. Like, covering Westworld right now is just one of those shows, just like Game of Thrones, that you can't not think about what the hell just happened and how did this happen and where could this go? Where's it going to take me? You know, there's a lot of shows that are just straightforward and kind of like procedural. So, like, you know what you're getting. Say like Mindhunter. There's not much theorizing that could be done, but they covered it well. But with like Westworld, it's just fun to expand the ideas and where it could go, and then see how many of your ideas are wrong the next week. It's just, and that's the main gist of DVR. of the DVR Podcast Network.
Cool. Now I got to ask you another question. Why don't you have a music podcast?
I thought about it for a while, and it's tough to do because of I don't know I never really I don't know music theory. I don't know enough how to analyze the music. I know I can talk about what I like, but it like past those points, I'm not well versed enough to say like break down the music itself. And then I don't know what I would want to break down and how to do it. So I have thought about it. Like, for instance, on the Westworld podcast, one of the guys is a trained musician. He's in a band, but he went to school for music, and he would talk about the way the composer made themes for individual characters and in what key they are, the melody, the just, and the way listening to him explain it during the course of Game of Thrones made me feel a lot smaller with music than I was, but I also learned so much. And now I'm picking up cues when I'm listening and watching shows, and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have known that unless I learned it. So that's really the main reason I haven't done a music podcast. And then the other like copyright infringement thing comes in. I know that certain people, have posted to YouTube certain podcasts. They get shut down off YouTube. I haven't heard of anybody really getting cease and desists on Apple Podcasts or things like that, but I don't know the legality. So like, I don't know how much I could actually play or say, talk about, or if I was just going to do sets. So, I kind of never took that risk of even going there because I feel like if I put my passion into it and it gets shut down, I'd be like, oh.
I think it'll be real interesting to hear a podcast from a DJ's perspective about music in the scene and everything like that, and just getting that input that a lot of people don't know about. Like DJing is not easy. I know it seems like it is, but you have to read a crowd. You have to know what a crowd wants and more importantly, what a crowd doesn't want. And sometimes you can really mess that up if you know what you're doing.
Oh, big time. You got to definitely read the crowd. Like, for instance, I used to DJ on this ship. I would say like a mini cruise liner that was a dinner cruise, and it would go from near LaGuardia Airport in New York, and it would go down the East River around the Statue of Liberty and then come back. So every night it was a different, sometimes it was rented out the whole boat for a corporate thing. Sometimes it was a wedding. Sometimes it was an open dinner cruise. And now you got all different, say 150 people coming. As soon as dinner was over around when we hit the statue. And I would play some Americana music, Ray Charles, America the Beautiful, things like that. And people would get their cameras out, take pictures of the statue. And then will be my dance set for the next hour and a half to 2 hours. And it was easy to lose the crowd. But so you have to constantly be looking up and around. And I could see that being interesting to talk about. I never really thought about talking about it from that point. So I kind of like that idea. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe even a couple one-off episodes might be cool doing that.
Yeah, I'll just give you an idea. You keep that for yourself. That's free.
All right. I like it. No intellectual property surcharge here. This is good.
No, not at all. You help with the Manscaped ad. That's the least I can do.
That's good.
So I want to ask you this because I know nothing about Westworld. I have not seen a single episode yet. I want to watch it. Should I get into it now?
Okay, well, let's ask you this first. Do you like hard sci-fi?
Yeah, I like sci-fi. I like sci-fi a lot, actually.
Okay. Do you like Dark Mirror?
Yeah, I like Dark Mirror. I like Twilight Zone. I like the reboot of Twilight Zone too. So yeah.
All right. Well, then Westworld will probably be right up in your wheelhouse. So it's a slow start. That's what really I think lost a lot of people in the beginning. The first season, it takes 5 episodes to build the world, and it's a lot of unknown. So Whereas a lot of other TV shows will come at you like, we're here, this is what we're doing, this is how it is. They leave it so that you don't really understand what's going on for a while. And a lot of people, that's, not for them. A lot of people don't like to think when they watch TV, which is a lot of people. They like to just put on their TV and watch something mindless. That's why sometimes procedurals work for people, where it's just a cop, a different villain of the week on Law and Order, or a cooking show, and that's cool. But like Westworld is one where you gotta really sink your teeth and wait. And once that moment comes and you put the pieces together, the rest of it flows. And right now we're only at 24 episodes. So the fourth episode of the third season just aired. There's only 10 episodes a season, and it's definitely worth watching if you like sci-fi. I think it's actually one of the top sci-fi shows that have been out in a real long time, because it addresses like the conflict of technology. Like, should these things be happening? The moral issues of should these things be created? Should these things be used in a certain way? These different machinery and these different devices or methods, where, say a show like The Expanse, which is a great sci-fi show, but that's like more space, and it involves actually more politics of how humans would get together, almost like Game of Thrones. Whereas it was violent, the show was more about the politics of people navigating that world in Westeros and figuring out how to live together, and then ultimately figuring out how to destroy the common goal. Westworld is more, without giving anything away, it's more cerebral as far as moral choices of what you should do with the technology.
Okay, I like that. Might have to check that out.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth it. And another one I was just going to mention, I don't know if you have Apple TV Plus.
I can get it for free. I just haven't gotten it yet.
Well, that's how I got it. When I upgraded my iPhone, they gave an offer for free, and they just released a new version of Amazing Stories.
Oh, okay.
And that is, I watched 2 episodes so far, and that's really great. And it stays in the wholesome category, like Twilight Zone, where it's not sexual or cursing, and like it's almost like family fun again, just like the old Amazing Stories were. And they don't go far off. Like they're like, wait, this could actually be cool. Like this could happen. Like, so it was so far the first 2 I watched were good, and it's another one I recommend.
Okay, I gotta check. I definitely gotta check them out. I didn't know about that at all. That's cool. All right. Any final thoughts before we go, brother? This has been awesome.
Oh, final thoughts. Well, I just really enjoy your show. I enjoy talking with you a lot. We communicated, a bunch online. I asked you a bunch of tips. Like I was doing, I had a show called Another Week, which we actually put on hiatus, that I was doing with my partner, my co-host on that one. And we are coworkers at our day job. And we work night job, but you know what I'm saying.
Same thing.
Yeah. So we always would shoot the shit every day. Like I read the paper, he'd be reading the paper, and he'd be like, oh, and then after we're done, we're talking about this current event. And we started plucking out like crazy stories that were funny, like to us. Unfortunately, a lot of things came from Florida, but mostly upstate on that panhandle, that crazy panhandle. But we would break them down, and we were going for a while. We went, a bunch of episodes, and that's one we were discussing. I was asking you some advice as far as different techniques about advertising and whatnot, or just different questions. And you gave me a lot of good advice, but unfortunately he got real busy. He works 3 jobs, and he got real hectic with his 3rd job, and we kind of put it on hiatus. And we want to revisit it, and we're going to come back to it. But that was a really fun podcast to do, because it didn't fit in any other categories I've been used to podcasting about. So, I enjoy linking up with you, talking with that. I've really enjoyed listening to your show. And the variety of guests you have is really impressive, because you draw a lot of different walks of life to your show that they have to have listened to want to be a guest, which is cool to know. Like I'm sure you don't just like reach out to a senator from Montana and be like, hey, you want to come on? But he listens to your show, or you know him somehow, and now he's on, and like you're getting like a really great just mix of people, and I think that's what's fun. One of the things I love about listening to your show, and you ask everybody a lot of good questions. I think we need to figure out an episode where we get to ask you a bunch of questions, because you tend to really ask a lot of great questions that I think we want to know a little more about you. We get tidbits here and there, but you're doing a great job, man. I just can't really say thank you enough for what you do, and then on top having me on.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And now that you mention it, I think we might need to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe send out something to people who have been on. What's a question you'd like, maybe me to answer and things like that? Because you have, for you to be so welcoming for other people at all different walks of life, you got to have a really big palette for humanity.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really appreciate that, man. You're right. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
Yes. No, it's definitely, you can tell, the way you respect everybody, the way you want them on, and a lot of helpful stuff has come out of your show, just from, learning about bourbon and whiskey, or, learning about why certain people want their guns, why don't, racial things, government things. It's just the variety, it makes the show.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. I try not to pick a side with everything, but I want to get on as many sides, as much diversity as I can with each episode. So I always try to get people from all walks of life. Now, whether all walks of life want to come on, that's a different thing. But I always try to get as much diversity as possible. That's very, very important to me when it comes to the podcast.
Well, I think in the world we live in, we're very tribalistic as a society, especially in America right now. And I think the fact that you unite people is the way it should be. See, like, I'm very open-minded. Like, if I hear someone's opinion, I'm going to think about it instead of just letting it come in this ear and go out the other ear. And like most people do, they don't want to hear something different. I want to hear something different, because everyone that says something, I could learn something, and I'm open to change my mind. Like, I might have said, I don't want to own guns. Then someone comes in and makes a valid point. Oh, you know what? That's right. Maybe I should own a gun. And and I'm not, I'm just using it as an example, but that's what I want to know. I want to learn about subjects that I don't know about. And a lot of people, unfortunately, they want to stay closed-minded. And a lot of it comes down to, unfortunately, politics, which right now is a big dividing factor in our society, which I think shouldn't be. Like, we were years ago, don't talk about politics and religion in public. And, that's all we're doing now. So
now we know why.
Yeah. Yep. Even though it's something that we could talk about, and we should probably, it's divided us a lot. And I want to see more people come together over stuff. And music and podcasting and art, these are the kinds of things that bring people in.
I agree. I definitely agree. Tim, let them know where to find your podcast at.
All right.
And also, when is the new one, the podcast you were doing is coming back? When is it getting off of hiatus?
I hope soon. I got to talk to my co-host Reddy about that, because, like I said, he's working 3 jobs and he does a lot. So when he's ready, because I don't want to just do an episode by myself. It's our baby, and I couldn't, because he brings the humor just right along with me. So I don't know when that's coming back. But Westworld, we drop 3 podcasts a week, believe it or not. And I'm on the Friday podcast that comes out. We call it the Cleanup Text. Okay. So you can check us out at Westworld Theorycast. You could check me out on Twitter at DJ Timm Hines, Timm. There's 2 M's in there. Hines, Hines. And I'd love to talk about anything, not just music. I'll, go back and forth. You want to promote something my way, I'll put it on. Anybody, like, I have a radio show as well. Once a week, I do a hour house music radio show, and it's actually broadcast like 16 times a week on the network that I send it to. The bn4ia.com. That's the broadcast network for independent artists. And on that, like, I'm on a lot of promo lists. And whenever people send me promos, like personally, especially if they not just a label, if it's the artist themselves, they get preferential treatment. Because I feel like if people go out of their way to promote their stuff and try to get it out there, and they're working, they're grinding. So I want to always give them preference, which is, I think that all the art community, no matter what your medium is, that's what you should do. You got to let that ego go a lot. So I do that, so if you got music, send it. If you want to hear the radio show, links are always on my Twitter. And, I just try to consume as much good content of different art as possible. And, Delvin Cox Experience is right up there.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
That'll do it for us. And as always, Delvin Cox Experience, we are out. Peace.
Peace.